This
idea, like
conference will now
okay,
be recorded.
Yeah.
maybe like
So John,
once.
go ahead, Rama. Sorry.
Yeah, I like that idea John mentioned. Like, hey, maybe like I think you already I saw sent email. Maybe we can put a timeline. Hey, after 2 weeks, like if there is no legal objections, we want to publish. Maybe
Yeah.
that
So
way.
we already did that, and that's why I asked the question. I'm asking the question here. We did 2 weeks, and then we did extension for another 2 weeks. So it's been over a month. We are in waiting mode. So I
Then
think I'll send another final notice. Hey, we are going to move ahead with that. If there is, and then yeah, that's it. Okay,
yeah,
that works for
thank
me.
you, thank you, Yogesh. Yeah.
Okay. And I just pinged a link into the chat window so that if anyone wanted to see the document, they could. And the other thing I did this week is somebody had like put a suggestion for changing font size at the top. So I'm just like, whatever. I accepted that or rejected. I can't remember what, but I got rid of that one
Yeah.
comment. So that's why you see
Thanks.
a
Yeah.
this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a couple of references, Drew, that we need to work through, but we can take care of that offline. So why don't we get on with the rest of the agenda?
Okay. Sounds good. So what do we? So I can give an update of my discussion with Rama, and I went to the GPU discussion today. It was good. We had a really good discussion. So I can kind of read out how I think we may work together. And there's an announcement. The RAS API effort is starting this week, or sorry, like next Tuesday. Uh, I think Antonio sent the announcement out. So, do we want to handle any of these in a particular order, Yogesh?
No, I think those are all related issues. So you go ahead.
Okay. So I think that you know the GPU discussion, like Rama has said, is largely complementary. They've started with air injection. They are looking at what does redfish look like, and so but we're talking about the possibility. I've got the hardware fault monitor, and this is where we're talking about doing some aggregation because you can have a whole bunch of different things logging errors. They each publish it to dbus. The hardware fault monitor can go, oh, I got an error, and it can go ping things to get error logs, and then expose those as a bundle. And so, that's the heart of what I want to happen, and I'll work with them to see if it's reasonable. But so far I think things look pretty good, and we're having a more detailed discussion about different sources of error logs. But the way I see it is they're not. I don't think it's contradictory. I think we may have some new streams of error logs to add to the stream. Is my mental model. But Rama, I don't want to step on you. Does that align with your thought? We may have some new
Yeah, yeah.
streams of logs.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Drew. And I also talked to Antonio like yesterday. I think your overall agreement is all complementing each other for now. Okay. If something like if RAS API provides that one, we'll take that one from RAS API. Okay. And then when both becomes out of CLA or both orgs in like then we can combine it like. Because that is focused on more firmware redfish kind of things, what are the
Yeah.
gaps, those kind of things, right? This one is like a little broader, CXL based, and those complements whenever there is a like, because you are part of both the discussions and I will be part of both the discussions. Like if RAS API discussed, we'll make sure that it's not overdoing the work there. Okay.
Oh, sounds good. Yeah, yeah. That totally rings good to me. I agree. So we'll make sure we keep the efforts reconciled and aligned, and try not to duplicate work. And the beauty of that, I think, is that it's going to give more traction to the general infrastructure we're trying to lay out through the RAS API, but it will give us better detail as that other GPU spec gets driven. So for me, I think it's a really nice situation, like two good things aligning to make something better.
Thank you. From last 1 month, I think I know we spend a lot of energies offline in these meetings. I think we are synchronized and it's good, good. Yeah, hopefully the industry and we all companies also will get benefited. Yeah, thank you.
Sounds good. So then the other thing that is happening is the RAS API discussions. And the RAS API in my mental model is, how do we talk, how do we gather things in the OS and how do we gather things in OpenBMC? The thing I'm excited the most about is, an upstreamable, simple piece of BMC code that doesn't have much IP in it, if any, that can go to a vendor's silicon and grab detailed information and expose RAS actions that are easy to trigger. So, Tony, I'm putting a plug in for what I love about the RAS API. I'm sure you have some other things, but that's starting this week. Antonio, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, so we started on the 8th, very early in the morning for the US guys, and because we have to accommodate the whole globe, so we have people hopefully from London and from China and from other parts of the South Asia. So we hope to see most companies there. I did have to remove the people that have not signed the CLA. So we will be recording the meetings and putting in the Google Drive. So those companies, as soon as they join us and sign the CLA, they'll be able to see the recording of the previous meetings, as well as have access to the trainings and other things we have there, and we will be creating. So please just let us know. So the CLA is signed with OCP, not with me or with Drew, but you can copy us. We can guide you to the right people, which is Michael Chill, but we can guide you. And let us know as soon as you have it so we can extend the invitation and add you to the mailing list and all of that nice stuff. So, yep.
Thank you, Antonio.
Yeah.
One question. The timing is 7 a.m. PST and 4 a.m. EST, correct? Is that time?
I think the 7 a.m. PST is correct.
Yeah.
And
I
then
think
10,
EST
it'd be
is like
10,
10.
10 a.m.
Exactly.
wouldn't it?
Yeah, it'll be like
14.
10 a.m. or something. One of the participants from the East Coast said it was like 10 a.m. his time.
10 a.m.
So,
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Good, yeah.
Yeah, they're ahead of us. So, and it's in the Pacific time zone. So Vilas will like it. It's a reasonable time for him.
yeah, he's already put it in the calendar and everything. He sent it. So, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, it's a reasonable time for some folks. I'm getting up at 4:30 a.m. to get to work in time, so I'm not enjoying it, but it's worth it. Okay, and I think here we're talking about CSP BMC code and a vendor fault management interface. It's really what we're trying to align around. So anyway, I think that's it. Um, so that's the RAS API. Trying to think what else we need to cover before we jump into air injection. Anything?
You guys, you said something about presenting or introducing people. I, I don't know if there's new
Yeah, we
people
do.
today.
Yeah, thanks. I forgot. Drew started, and I was also hoping that more people would join today. Today we have a little bit less attendance, but we are happy to have Jerry. Jerry, if you want to introduce yourself right now, it's time. I apologize that we kind of didn't do it in the first as a first item.
Sure. I'm attending because Drew invited me, actually, and I am working in the mission critical HPE platform infrastructure here. I'm trying to keep things together as many of our more talented people like Drew have left and gone off to bigger and greater things. So I guess I'm the person most responsible for putting it all together, though I have a great team of many individual contributors who are filling in all the gaps that I certainly can't fill. And we rely heavily on our mission critical past, as well as our Proliant brothers like Mark Fletcher in the meeting to fill out all the pieces that we need. So I'm just a small cog among many other greater cogs.
He's underselling it. Jerry's awesome.
I know, Jerry, you're very humble. And of course, I just yeah, don't want to forget and acknowledge how glad we are to have Mark here and participating, contributing
Absolutely.
heavily.
Yeah,
So,
I think
so
this is one of the first intro. I had to try to oversell, low. This is very humble then. Yeah.
yeah, Jerry's
and
great.
sorry, go ahead, Drew. Drew, you're saying
Okay,
something. I'm sorry.
so then I think
Do,
we
do
do.
we
What
also
about?
have do we also have anyone else who's new? I see Eric. Eric, are you a first time attendee, or I'm very bad with names, so I apologize if you already attended before. But if you want to go ahead
Uh,
with the introduction,
yeah,
please.
yes, yes. It's my first time. I just want to know what's going on and try to keep up with all the development. That's all.
You are from which company, Eric?
Inventec.
Oh, okay, okay,
Okay,
nice.
yeah.
That's great.
Well, welcome, Eric.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So
Before
One question
Drew, one
yourself,
more time,
John.
do you have anyone else who wants to introduce themselves? I know we have some new faces, so and new
yeah,
attendants. Please, if anyone feels like they want to give or get introduction, please go ahead. I guess that's a no. So please go ahead.
okay. So so I think what do we want to move to next? I think air injection.
So yeah, on error injection, I thought last we talked about is how it's what work will be done in this sub-project, what work will be done in GPU that Rama is contributing to. And Rama, I thought one of the things you said, depending on the license structure or agreement, you might want to bring some of the work in this project. So what would have
Yeah,
clarity
yeah.
on that?
Like two people already signed legal sign off, and one person is like maybe because of vacation or something is taking time. I think what I heard ETA is next week. Okay, then it will be like OCP open. Then we can merge into
I see.
like the ideas and yeah. I think we'll get more clarity, Yogesh, by next week. And I think Anil also mentioned you want to discuss some PCA stuff here. I'm also interested in that. If Anil is here, yeah, after the error injection, we can discuss that.
Yeah, I
I see.
don't. Let's see.
Anil is not here. I think Anil Agrawal. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And he recommended this table, and yeah. Uh, okay. I don't know. I don't know where we want to dig in today. I think I'm just trying to think of the best way to do this. So I created a hierarchy of errors that was really focused on the machine itself, and it kind of ended at the PCIe link. You know, I uh, wasn't really thinking at all about PCI device errors. So I think what we may want to do is uh, just add the notion that there will be a PCI device air injection concept that we have, and so it's in addition to all the machine errors. I think and then whatever you all have started in the GPU forum, we'll just pivot towards.
One question, Drew. Like even the other work, I know we are listing as per the PCIe specifications a lot of errors to be injected. Did we like the idea is like, hey, what are the tools like APIs like? We are putting the requirements. How does the industry support all this? Like because some are like very hard to.
Inject, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I think what we need to do. So we've talked about putting this in a table, and I just haven't had time to do it. But
Mm,
and the Niels tables is a nice start. I have no problem with it. But I don't really care about an error code. And what I would really like to know is how do I inject it? Like
yeah,
do we?
yeah.
And 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 I guess the other question is, today we have I think we have multiple air injection techniques, and I think I listed them somewhere. And what I'd like to do, here we go. So we have paths, faulty hardware, special hardware, kind of JTAG scan like things. Sometimes the BMC can drive scan or has other injection mechanisms, or ACPI, EI, and J. And so in my dreams, we could translate, I could take that hierarchy, throw it into a table, and then say, here's the priority, maybe. Maybe what we do is we each kind of vote on what we think is most important. And I would love to see EI and J become a little richer. And then I'd like, for instance, one thing, and we could also maybe highlight our pain points, because like one of my pain points is I want to test poison TLPs right now. Well, so now I've got to figure out how to poison memory and then get some driver to use the buffer to ensure that I see a poison TLP. Surely there's a better way to do it.
Yeah, yeah, I like that approach. Like, I think like converting to table and say, hey, implementation choices or the dependencies, right? Like EANG interface wise, like say in band, it's good. Okay, like as we have seen in the industry, but still somebody need to like implement the logic how to inject error, right? Because that reference code or something comes from silicon vendors, like the capabilities are like getting reduced. The APIs are there, but the tool richness is like it varies lotly, like from vendor to vendor actually.
Yeah,
Some
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I agree with you. So I don't want to cut you off too much, but I wanted to pause for just a second to trying to kind of take some notes on the next steps and catch up and make sure I capture what you're saying, Rama. So I think convert. I would propose converting a list of errors to a table, and
Prioritize, yeah, type of
yeah,
errors we want.
And Drew, the
okay.
first the first thing I think you should point to though is EINJ is a robust method today, but it depends on SMI. So, are you going to allow SMIs to do your air injection?
Um, well, I guess I have thought about that and discussed it. Today it does, and it may be necessary for a time, but I think that's a discussion we can have with the silicon vendors about, what's possible. There are potentially other mechanisms EI and J could use other than SMI.
Yeah, agreed. I think it's possible. Anything's possible, but I think you should also note it though in your document. Make sure
Yeah, yeah,
it's
I
clear
think
to
you're right.
everybody. Yeah.
Drew, what
Yeah.
I was thinking about on that, I've been thinking about that for some weeks now. One of the things we are trying to set as a requirement is ability to inject in production environment in the
Yes.
fleet. So I think we need to have that very clearly laid out. So development environment, we for the uh, for the broader coverage, we may be forced to use SMI. And in the production environment, we may have a limited set of injections which can work. And I don't know, that analysis has to be done without SMI.
Well, and maybe it has to start small and grow over time as we learn more. I don't, yeah, we need to think
Right,
about that.
right. And that another aspect to that is we development uses a lot of JTAG based lab bench kind of setup injections. Uh, we may have to highlight that also, what injection setup we're talking about. Lab setup where we have a JTAG ITP kind of external box connected, or we are talking of out of band from BMC, or we are talking of in band from OS. So all those needs to be thought out.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe what I do is say, uh, a giveaway for people to indicate preferred injection paths. And I say paths plural because, even if I could inject every single air out of band, there's still some that are kind of useful to inject in band when you're testing OS code and you want to set up the tests in the OS and then do the injection and watch the poison recovery. In band injection is still pretty darn helpful. So, so I think what we'll have is preferred injection paths, plural, and it may be that everyone says we want them all, we want them in band and out of band, and if we do, we'll just have to go back and say, hey, wait, we still need to prioritize it. But I
Yeah,
resonate with
I think,
it.
yeah, I think for a while, all of these will have to coexist, as this is not this is a tall change, big change to ask for.
Yeah,
So depending
but
on the capabilities and ramp, this will, yeah, we'll see how it goes.
yeah, most definitely. Uh, Another thing that I just realized that we didn't cover, and well, let's finish this discussion. But I was thinking about memory and realized maybe there's some other things we didn't include in our injection pass I wanted to ask about. But if we do this, is this a reasonable next step for folks? And then people can weigh in on the priorities and their preferred path.
Yeah, this is really good. Yeah.
Okay.
So definitely agree with the coverage list. One thing I was also thinking about for ever since we started this document, we started the uh, hardware fault handling requirements document in similar manner, and it took like 3 or 4 very smart people working on it for almost a month full time, their separate efforts to kind of retrofit into what we want the final document to look at. So maybe we need to spend some time and having a structure at the get-go, uh, because right now we are listing like kind of a wish list kind of thing. Everything is there, right? A laundry list rather. So we need to get a structure about how. So we have a lot of things that we want right now, but we have to kind of structure them in a flow which makes sense.
So I'm open to that, Yogesh. I just started the doc to have a place to throw things, so we didn't lose
Oh,
them. And we,
I totally agree with that approach. I mean, that's the best approach. Keep it open and free because initially other way is also hard. So I totally agree with what you did.
so I don't mind the OCP template. I mean, that's great, but no problem. I guess I may need help structuring the document because I needed help last time. So
Yeah.
I'm a better brainstormer than a structurer. So I'm willing to help someone, but I think I'll need someone to work with me on that.
You're huge on dreaming, You- which I like. It's a
Dream
compliment.
away.
It's a compliment. So no, I think I get it. Yeah, I'll spend some time on that, and we'll see if I can do it, or I'll probably maybe need to work with someone else. So okay.
Sounds good. Okay, that sounds like a plan. So are folks okay with this plan? Okay. Then the other thing I just wanted to ask about is I was thinking about memory errors, and I guess the DIM VR errors are there, but I was thinking, you know, maybe on the motherboard, but also, can the PMIC, like is a DDR5 PMIC a place we might inject errors, or do we ever want to?
No, absolutely. I think it's a requirement,
Okay.
not an if. It's a
Okay, I
must.
wasn't sure. Yeah, I don't know. Mark, do you know if the PMIC currently can do that, or is that a new requirement
It
to the
it
PMICs?
can, but let me just say, security will have to be bypassed, and that's
Uh,
difficult. That will be the most contentious part of it. But yeah, I
well,
think we
yeah,
have to be able to do it.
okay, yeah, okay, that makes perfect sense. What about the so Mark, since you knew this right off the top of your head, what about the I guess RCD, like register chips? Do you
Oh, you
know if
mean
there's
on the PMIC or on the DIM?
on the DIM? There's a RCD, I believe, on DDR5, some registered DDR5 parts.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with what you're referring to. The only other thing I would mention is the air check scrub. That's another component of DDR5 that we would probably want to take advantage of as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I totally agree with you. I just say ECS, but yeah, uh, I 100% agree. Good call. So that's I mean basically with ECS you're saying you want to flip a bit in the DRAM.
Yes, but I think I'm not sure that I would say that we have a requirement to inject into ECS. I think what we really want is to look at ECS and simply verify that it is, doing, expected behaviors. If we're injecting, the expectation is will essentially inject through ECS, right? That is,
Yeah.
it'll be more than a bit, and therefore ECS won't apply. But ultimately, there probably should be some, you know, checks done where we would inject single bit errors and verify that ECS not only detected them and logged them and then presented them, right? And that the way the structure is set up, it's the highest row error count should be presented after it crosses threshold, and we probably want to verify that's working on every manufacturer's DIM.
Okay. That makes sense to me, Mark. Uh, I don't know what's possible, so I just put question marks. But I mean, I'm open. I don't know. I guess what we'll do is we'll put it in the table and get people's feedback, and then we'll just need the memory vendors to weigh
Yeah,
in and maybe CPU vendors and help us. I don't know. Go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry. I don't mean
yeah,
to.
I don't know that it's possible. In fact, I'm not aware that it's possible today. But
Probably
but
not.
you
Yeah.
know, we're talking about what should go on the table. I think this should go on the table. As memory vendors may who the idea, but I you know the idea is that I think we as a platform want to know that ECS activity is performing as expected, right? And right today we don't have a way to do it. We depend on the memory vendors themselves, and they're I would just say all pretty tight-lipped about that capability and what and really how it can be used, right? That's another contentious item. But from my perspective, I think it would be great to be able to verify that, in fact, the DIM is detecting single bits, correcting single bits, counting single bits, and then presenting them, when the threshold is crossed.
Yeah, I agree. Well, and Mark, if I can dream for a minute, we've been concerned about making sure that ECC works as we expect. So, in my dreams, I could flip a whole bunch of bits in inside the DRAM, and then make sure it doesn't alias with the processor's ECC. So that's my dream, but I don't know if that's a realistic dream or not.
Yeah, I don't know. That one is I
It's
think
hard.
even more dangerous.
It's totally, and I'm not sure it's realistic, but I'm dreaming, So my dreams can be dumb, I suppose.
Hey, Drew, on the point of RCD, I think one related thing that we definitely want on our list is SPD.
Oh, good call. Yes, I don't know why I didn't think that. Yes.
And that's a separate path, but I was about RCD, I would like to hear from our experts like Roy and others from memory side of things, because I think RCD is basically registering the clock and driving your command and address. So won't it be inherent, or do we need, and how do we actually inject in something like that? Something that I would like, I don't know. I'm just asking if anyone from the SK Hynix wants to. We don't have others today, so if anyone from SK Hynix wants to chime in on that to educate us.
We have Micron though. We have Evan. But yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Roy, if you don't mind.
Oh, yes, Evan is here. Sorry.
Or Evan. Either one.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I mean, I'd be interested in Roy's opinion too, but I agree, Yogesh. I don't know of anything we'd want to inject there or anything that we could inject there. I've taken a note to look into it a little more. Along with the ECS one, the ECS2, I mean, kind of the stuff that was mentioned in kind of the current implementation, I think will be pretty limited, but we are starting to look into that for kind of future as well. So I've taken notes on both of those to follow up. The RCD one, I don't know if we can do anything, but I'll double check with our other experts here.
Sounds good.
Yeah, Roy, I'd be interested in yours too if you have anything more on that.
Roy, you're on mute if you're talking. We're not being rude, I promise.
Sorry. I basically agree that this is very difficult to imagine what type of errors could be injected for the SD and DB. Basically, all the failure due to the SD and DB, we will regard it as a DIM failure, or sometimes it could be misunderstood by the DRAM failure. But it's quite difficult during the field operation. We can inject the errors to distinguish whether the RSD and DB failed. With our internal discussion, if there is something we found from the field RMA data regarding the RSD and DB data, DB chip, we will report to you to this meeting later. We will take it as an action item.
Great, thank you. Yeah, and I guess the principle I've got is if we can log errors in it, we probably want to inject errors into it. This is just a kind of a general safe assumption. So if that's okay, I mean, we just want to. Well, that'd be great to get your feedback on that. We're very open. And what I would, but I guess hopefully that makes sense generally. I think that's Mark's experience too, right? If it can log errors, we want to inject errors. Right, Mark, or am I off?
No, I think that's reasonable. I think there's just hard requirements and maybe soft requirements. A hard requirement is the VR. That has to be, injectable and testable. But I think that capability exists today, although, security will be an issue.
Yeah.
As far as the ECS goes, I think that's more of a soft requirement, and that it would be really nice to have, right? I think
Okay.
want to basically prove the ability of ECS and prove that it works as we expect, and then use the data, right? The idea is ideally that's what we would want to do, is prove that it works the way we understand, and then utilize the data that it provides. In
Yeah.
my, in my dream world, right? I just think, hey, if we got the data from the DIM before the errors manifested on the platform, and we repaired the row before the errors manifested on the platform, my goodness, we could potentially have an error-free DIM, leveraging the DRAM, for that data. And now I will say that it's a pipe dream, but
Yeah.
but in an ideal world, I think that's what I would love to see.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. That makes sense to me. Okay. Well, I think that's it. Then I think we have a next step. But go ahead,
Drew,
Roy.
Drew, can I suggest to change the rather than RCD and RCD and DB? The DB
And
is the same situation. Yeah.
sorry, DB. That's the buffer.
Oh yeah, data buffer.
Data buffer. Okay.
Yeah, it's a quite similar situation with RCD.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. And we would like your advice on how to test it. That would be really good. Uh, and especially, one thing that we want to think about is we've talked a lot about how we logged errors, or how we want to log errors. So, if you want us to test our infrastructure, make sure we're capturing errors correctly so you can analyze them. That's awesome. Oh, and I see Brent suggested by the way, we have some new people that joined, so welcome everyone. And Brent, I like your suggestion.
Yeah, the OCP SSD spec actually has error injection called out. It's fairly high level. I think this would be a good place to get more specific.
And I guess SSDs were generally PCIe devices for us,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
yeah,
is that fair to say that's a PCI device? And okay. And you're saying the OCP spec already covers the
it,
injection?
yeah. It's fairly high level, but yeah, it does have some cases in there.
Could you ping a link to that spec, and I'll put that in the doc?
Yeah, let me see if I can find.
Yeah.
It's OCP 2.0 NVMe SSD specification. I'll see if I can find you a link.
Okay. Yeah, that would be awesome. I'll throw that in. And we may have to prioritize those, or maybe what we do is divide and conquer, because we have the GPU effort that Rama's driving, and we have SSD groups, and so for the endpoints, maybe we just go ask them, hey, can you point us to your spec?
Yeah, this is really good. Thank you. One question on that, uh, in the SSDs, it will have multiple errors. Is the PCIe errors also covered as part of that spec?
Let me see. I think the answer is yes.
Oh, that is a very good news.
Yeah, it does have PCIe, but also, yeah, all kinds of other errors, PLP, power loss protection,
Yes.
NAND, and its own DRAM, if it has that, SRAM corruptions, other hardware things. And
Yeah.
actually,
That link is really helpful to see whether they used what mechanisms to inject errors or what they're recommending, like in band, out of band, or like what errors they support, different correctable and all that. Awesome,
yeah,
thank you.
and
Yeah.
actually, I'm looking at it now. PCIe error injection is not covered in OCP 2.0 in this spec.
Oh,
I know that
okay.
we have capabilities for that. I'll have to look where that's outlined.
And
Okay.
and it probably should be CXL now, not necessarily just PCI. It should,
Yeah,
CXL will be, the next technology.
Yeah,
And
so I'll just say PCI and CXL. Sure. Yeah, if that's okay.
yeah, yeah. So let me just throw some bait into the, some chum into the water.
Go
Um,
for it, Mark.
yeah. So answer the question. If I have a CXL device, should I allow it to pass poison into main memory?
Uh, it depends.
Does it? Well, hey, the chum is in the water. I would love to hear everybody chime in. Why does it depend?
It depends on the nature of the device because there's CXL.mem and there's CXL.io. And so in the .io case, you may just want to not pass poison at all and fail. Fail to the driver. If it's memory, then you probably have to pass the poison.
Yes, and I am assuming it is a memory.
Oh,
However,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
With memory,
yeah, but I would just so the state of the system after that happens though is I have poison in main memory without a poison creation.
that's right. And I'm very worried about that. If we generate poison on CXL, we need to make sure we log it. And that's one of the reasons, thank you, Mark, you've nailed it. That's one of the reasons on our infrastructure document, I am begging for aggregation here because what I'm imagining is a CXL memory card would log the poison creation to the OpenBMC. Poison consumption would also be visible to it, and we could correlate the two and say, oh yeah, this crash caused because of this device, generating
Yeah,
poison.
well, so but yeah, so that opens a can of worms though, because now that means your BMC has to have awareness of every CXL memory device and how it operates, and essentially there has to be some standardized method to extract that poison creation event. Now, if that's all
Agreed.
possible and doable, then I would say all the better. Let me just say is there should be a hard requirement, right? That anytime there is a poison creation event, it must become visible so that, if we do allow poison to traverse, the underlying requirement is there has to be a creation event that's
Mhm.
that's knowable and visible so that we understand the source of poison. And the
100%
idea
agree.
is, yeah, if we have that capability, and by the way, today I don't believe we do, but if we have that capability, then I think, allowing poison to traverse is less risky. If it gets consumed, we have the source, the
We know what to
creation
fix.
event.
Yeah, we know
Yeah.
what to fix. Yeah,
Yes.
I'm with you because poison creation is what you know what to fix. So we can bring someone like Jerome Gleason. There are folks working on that, and I've given them similar requirements, and so we could probably bring some CXL folks in at
I,
some point and
well,
go over that.
I'm more interested in what Rama thinks, really, honestly. The idea is I want to know what Microsoft expects and how they want to deal with. I, Part of the problem for me here is that in this new world of CXL, the expectation is that it's really going to be between the driver and the device, and the platform won't be involved. So, in other words, if there is a poison creation event in the CXL ecosystem, that should be visible to the driver and then, of course, available to the OS. So the OS would know the source of creation, but not the platform.
We are driving that CXL can be out of band logged as well.
Yeah. So,
So
but the idea is
understand.
you understand the danger there, right?
But the endpoint driver, right? That's if Anil was here, he would say like that's why we need in-band also. But endpoint driver, I'm not clear how. Maybe it's something I need to learn. Uh,
But
that's
but hold on a second. Hold on. I want to just drill in on that just for a second. the OS doesn't care who generated the poison if the OS is not responsible for driving repairs. What the OS wants to know is what's bad, so I stop using it.
Yeah,
So that
that's
is
right. Yeah.
perfectly fine for M-band.
Yep.
Now, poison generation is where we drive the repairs. And so if the Open BMC has a way to see poison generation out of band, and that's architected as part of a CXL solution, problem solved. If we don't have it, then Mark, you are 100% right. We're in trouble.
Yeah, and it's device dependent, right? That's another, real bad, problem, because there could be different technologies and different capabilities and different behaviors, and all device dependent and all driver dependent.
Well, I believe it's an advertisement for why we want the RAS API, because if we said, hey, we want the CXL devices to support the RAS API, they have an out-of-band logging path, and we can see the poison generation events.
Yes, so the idea is, but when you say we, I think in this case we have to be clear, because it's not just the VMC, right? We really have three entities, and all three entities need to be able to consume the event, right? That is
What
the
if,
OS, the platform, and the VMC. And architecturally, it depends on who's managing, right? All three of those entities could be managing memory, and if the OS responsible, then he has to have access. If the platform is managing, it has to have access, and if BMC is managing, it has to have access.
uh, sure. I guess when you say platform, you're implying SMM.
Yes,
Is that Yeah. And
absolutely.
yeah. In my world, SMM doesn't play a role, so I don't care about SMM. But it's valid for you to say that. And so I think that is something that we could bring a CXL expert in, or we could say the RAS API that Antonio's crafted is available in band as well. That he has an in band solution. Uh, so that may be the answer. I don't know. I haven't cared about SMM. I'm getting rid of it. But I agree with you that if SMM manages memory, it needs to know about it, 100%.
Yeah, platform is in firmware first, and so platform is managing memory. There must be a
Well,
way to consume. And I don't believe that exists today. If it does, I'm not aware of it. Not that I'm completely engrossed in CXL, but I just see this. To me, the issue that I see is we have a new technology coming that is essentially going to be, a device and a driver combined, and how well that device behaves and how well the driver behaves will dictate everything, right? It means the platform may crash without known reasons. The
I mean,
CXL device misbehaving could do horrific things to a platform.
oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, basically, CXL can have the same impact that a bad DIM can, which is crash it, corrupt it, all the things. Yeah. So I'm not that worried about it because we have a out-of-band management solution in mind for CXL. But if you are confident that you're going to proceed with firmware first, then I agree you'll need a solution, and I would encourage you to propose something. And maybe what we do is we talk a little bit about it here, and then go to the CXL folks and say, okay, here's what we're thinking for in-band, and Anil would care, right? Uh, so maybe folks in this group that are more focused on in-band could propose an idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're go ahead, Mark.
Well, I would just say I completely agree. But where I was really wanting to hear from is Rama. I want to know, would Microsoft rather crash the box, because that's, I think, exactly what we're talking about here. If we don't allow poison to, enter our ecosystem, um, or would it be better to allow poison into the ecosystem with no valid source, but keep the box running? Because I think that's the decision we have to make. And I would,
Yeah,
again, there's
yeah.
chum in the water. I want to hear everybody. Go
Oh
ahead,
yes.
Ron.
Sorry, like uh, in between like 5-10 minutes, there was other pings. Can you please repeat the question? Sorry, like I don't know. I don't want to disrespect the time.
Well,
Like I want to
so, so,
answer. I
so
listen.
Rama,
Like, but
Maybe if I may, gentlemen, we are almost on time. Mark,
oh
would you
yeah,
bring back the chum next week? Let's have fun with that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
yeah,
fine. Yeah, it doesn't have to be this week or today or in the next 10 minutes.
yeah,
It's
that sounds good. I think this is it's a valid
No, no, I
discussion.
think I think I think I think it's a very good point.
Yeah.
For true isolation, poison creation, source of poison needs to be visible to all three potential error handler domains that Mark identified. We all know about, right? So
right.
yeah,
But today we don't have that, Yogesh.
yep,
That's the
yeah, I know.
problem.
Yep,
And so now saying, knowing that we don't have that capability, the question, again, on the table is, if I don't have, a source for poison creation, and let's just assume that that extends to all three, you know, would you allow poison into your ecosystem without a known creation, or would you crash the box?
Well, so
Yeah.
Mark,
I
I
think
guess
yeah.
we've
Just
got a
second thing is like I think this is very critical. Like everybody, we face problem. I think everybody faces this problem. Maybe like you guys said, we can go a little deeper next week, and output of that is just put a one pager. Hey, this is what the gaps.
you
This is
know.
like yeah,
You know,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, you know, as a parting thought, I sometimes wonder when will the pendulum start swinging back towards everything should be integrated because more power we want, more disaggregated we get, and then we have more computation power we want, we get more disaggregated, we got heterogeneity, we get disaggregated, and then we start, man, this is not manageable and power is getting out of hands. Let's integrate everything back into the
well,
SoC.
but
Kind of go back and forth, right?
so, so Mark, can we? I need to drop, but I would love for you to post your problem again, and we can discuss it. I would argue that the only problem I see is for platform first management right now. I think the other two cases have solutions, and
Yeah,
so let's refine the problem statement to be clear where we think we have the hole, and then we can figure out the best way to fill the hole.
yeah.
Yeah,
I'll be honest, Drew. I want to understand how the out of band aspect that I'm probably not very familiar with. So
It's
maybe
pretty simple.
let's have a discussion. Let's have discussion next week on that.
Yeah, it's
So
really
we'll
the out of band
get it.
solution is simple. You just log the air out of band, and that's how you drive your repair. That's really all there is to it. There's not much to it. So okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
let's wrap.
I thought the problem is the controller domain for memory and CXL is different. The controller is sitting on the endpoint, which has a driver talking to it, which is sitting in the operating system. Maybe I'm missing something there. The mailbox that we talk about is sitting in the talking to the CXL controller. So maybe I'm missing something in the topology. That's what I want to understand. I'll go back and read some also, but I think that's where I have a gap in understanding maybe.
Yeah, okay. I mean, we just have an out of band capability on the CXL cards, and that's all you really need. There's a
I
way to
see.
log out of band.
I
It's
see.
this is super simple, and it fits with what we're doing here. We want to log out of band to the BMC and drive repairs from that for kind of the BMC first solution. So I think there is a hole if you want to drive everything with SMM. Mark, so Mark, I'm not pushing back on you. I'm just saying let's focus in on where the problem really is, and refine our problem statement, and then we can figure out what to do about it.
yeah, that's fine. Again, I mean, it's chum in the water. Everybody
Yeah.
should chew on it, think about it, and we'll talk about it next week.
Hey, it keeps these meetings interesting, Mark. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
I really do have to drop.
we're a
Yeah.
couple of minutes over. Have a great weekend, everyone. We'll
Yeah,
meet
thanks
again
everyone.
next week. Thank you. Thank you all.